Last week, I learned the fundamentals of JavaScript and a little bit of the basics of React, components, props, and state. In week 2, I finished learning React fundamentals, built 2 real projects, and tried to understand how React works. So let me show you what I learned. This week, I learned useEffect, and honestly, this was the most confusing part at first. What helped was realizing that effects aren't something React does randomly. They run because state or props changed. Another concept I learned was forms and controlled components. This was a big thing this week. For example, if we had like a text input, it shows that typing updates that state and the UI reflects the state that has been changed. Before I show the projects, I want to talk about 2 ideas that completely changed how I write React code. The first one is derived state. At first, I thought everything needed its own use state, but React taught me something better. If a value can be calculated from existing state, you don't store it, you derive it. For example, in my to-do app, I don't store how many to-dos are completed. I calculate it from the to-dos array. That way, there's only one source of state. The second big concept was lifting state up. Instead of every component managing its own data, the state lives in the closest common parent and gets passed down as props. Alright, so now we can get into the projects. The first project was a classic, a to-do app, but I tried to treat it like a real React system. What I learned with this project is that state lives in the parent, and child components are reusable. All to-dos live in one state array in the main app component. From there, I pass functions down, one to add to-dos, one to toggle completion, and one to delete to-dos. The cool part is the completed count. I don't store it anywhere new. I derive it by filtering the to-dos. The second project was an API dashboard, and this used concepts like useEffect from earlier, and also data fetching, loading in error states, and using derived state and lifting state up. I started by fetching users from an external API using useEffect. While the data is loading, I show a loading state. If something fails, I show an error. And once the data arrives, I store it in state, and then everything else is derived. For the search bar, it doesn't modify the users directly. Instead, I derive a filtered list based on the search input. That filtered list gets passed into the user list component. Up until now, everything's been browser-based, but in week 3, I'm stepping into React Native, learning how React actually powers mobile apps, which was my goal from the beginning. It's the same state, the same thinking, just a completely different environment, and that journey starts next week.